What's up, Peace Chapel, family and friends? Man, I miss you guys so much. I cannot wait until we're back together worshiping in the building. But until then, I'm going to make the most of the time that we have, take advantage of this broadcasting. We are growing every single week. We're just over 400 followers on YouTube. And so if you're worshiping with us for the first time, I want you to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell below. My name is DeAntoine Fitz. I'm the pastor of this church located here in Los Angeles, California. We're so grateful that you decided to worship with us on today. You could have been anywhere, but you decided to worship with us, and I do not take your time lightly. So I pray that something is said that will inspire you to hope, because that's why we exist as a church. We exist to inspire people to hope. Now today I'm excited because we're starting a brand new message series. The Lord sort of took me in a different direction. I was going in one direction and I couldn't get it together and couldn't figure out why I couldn't get it together. But after I walked away and spent some time with the Lord, He started leading me in a different direction. And so the title of this message series is Living Your Best Life. Living your best life. We've heard that song, living my best life. I ain't going back and forth with you. Y'all know the rest of that, right? And this is one of those messages, this whole series, but especially today, is one of those messages where you're going to want a few people to watch this with you. As you're listening to this, you're going to be like, man, I wish so-and-so was here. So what I want to encourage you to do is stop what you're doing and share this broadcast with at least 2 people, because I believe that the information that they hear today is going to really help them in life. And so I'm entitling today's message, Surrounded by Champions. And what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a principle that successful people have been leveraging for years. And when I say successful, I'm talking about success in every arena of life. Successful with their finances, successful in their marriage, successful as a parent, successful with their health. Everybody that I know that's successful is leveraging this principle that I'm getting ready to share with you guys today. So let's get into this. I heard a story about a man who knew how to grow corn. He was a champion corn grower. He won the blue ribbon for growing corn. One day a journalist came to interview him, and he wanted to know, how do you do this year after year? I mean, year after year, you win the prize. You are the champion corn grower. And he said, that's easy. What I do is I take the seed from last year's champion and I give it to all of the farmers around me. That way, when the wind blows, only the pollen from last year's champion is blowing on my crop. That is brilliant. Simple, but brilliant. And so as we dive into today's message, my question to you is, whose pollen is blowing on your life? Who are you allowing close to you that's rubbing off on you? Because who we spend time with, beloved, is a big deal. The people that we surround ourselves with is a big deal. Neuroscientist Warren Sir, he's a scientist and a professor at Northwestern University. He said that the people that we're close to, when you're close to people, there's something that begins to happen, and it's not just physical, but inside of our brains, it actually begins to look identical. The more you spend time with people, the brain waves actually begin to look identical. I want to share with you guys a few excerpts from an article that he wrote. He said this, he says, the more we study engagement, we see time and again that just being next to certain people actually aligns your brain with them. He continues, this means the people you hang out with actually have an impact on your engagement with reality beyond what you can explain. And one of the effects is you become alike. If people want to maximize happiness and minimize stress, and that should be everybody that's watching this broadcast, we should all want to maximize happiness and minimize stress. He says, they should build a life that requires fewer decisions. How? By surrounding themselves with people who embody the traits they prefer. He goes on to say, over time, they'll naturally pick up those desirable attitudes and behaviors just by being in close proximity with them. Without any effort on your own, if you spend time with certain people, their traits, their attitudes, and their behaviors will begin to rub off on you. And so who we spend time with is a big deal. I tell people all the time, if you show me your friends, I will show you your future. Our greatest regrets doesn't revolve around our enemies. They revolve around the people that we call our friends. Some of the most addictive behaviors started out as pastime with friends. There are people who are doing things today that they said they would never do because of friends. And this is not a Christian thing. This is not a Bible-believing thing. This is just a people thing. But what's amazing is that nowhere better will you find this principle stated clearly and concisely than in the Bible. And it's stated by someone who is considered the wisest man to ever live, and that's Solomon. And we're going to look at one of the verses that he wrote in the book of Proverbs, a really, really good book that I encourage you to read. It's a book full of wisdom. But we're just going to look at one verse, and we're going to look at how he lays this dynamic out and how it affects us, the people that we spend time with, how that affects our future. And so here's what I'm hoping that you recognize, that you learn how to leverage this principle that people have been leveraging for many, many years that is leading to their success, because I want people to be successful. I want you to be successful. I want you to live your best life. There are a lot of people who are claiming to live their best life, and they're doing a good job of making it look good, but there are people who are really living their best life. There are people who have their finances together. There are people who have their relationships together. They have their health together. They're not just doing it in public, but behind the scenes, they're living their best life, and that's what I want for you. And so Solomon lays his wisdom out for us, and I hope you get this. Pay attention, because he's going to drop some golden nuggets with this. Here's what he says. He says, walk with the wise. This is Proverbs chapter 13, verse 20. He says, walk with the wise and become wise. That's a promise. And so what Solomon does is he lays out a promise, but he also lays out a warning. The promise is that if you walk with the wise, you will become wise. And then he gives the warning. He says, but a companion of fools will suffer harm. And so here's what Solomon is promising. Solomon promises that wisdom is contagious. He's also warning that foolishness is contagious. The promise is that if you surround yourself with people that the Bible defines as wise, and I'll explain that in a bit, you will, by nature of close proximity, become a wiser person. A wise person is a person who has learned how to live life well. A wise person is a person who understands that all of life is connected, that there are no isolated events, there are no isolated thoughts, that what I did yesterday is showing up in my today, and what I do today will show up in my tomorrow. And so wise people understand that all of life is connected. And so the people that you are in close proximity with will determine the quality and the direction of your life. If you spend time with people who are wise with their money, they will begin to rub off on you. If you spend time with people who are wise as parents, they will begin to rub off on you. Wise with their health, they'll begin to rub off on you. If you spend time with people who know how to treat people, their wisdom and the way that they are will begin to rub off on you. They will impact the way that you view the world. Wisdom is contagious. But then the warning is not that if you spend time with fools, you'll become a fool, which that is possible, that if you spend time with a fool, you'll become a fool. But Solomon says that it's actually worse than that. You would think that if you spend time with wise people, you become wise. If you spend time with fools, you become a fool. But Solomon says that it's actually worse than that. That you can spend time with fools and never participate in the behavior of a fool, never view the world the way a fool views the world, and still be impacted by the fool's decisions. That eventually the shrapnel from the explosion will begin to impact your life just by being in close proximity. It's like secondhand smoke. You may never put that cigarette to your mouth, but just by being in close proximity to a person that's smoking, you can still end up getting cancer. And the crazy thing is, they may never get cancer, but you, by nature of close proximity, will be impacted by their behavior. And we've all seen this played out. I know people who will never walk again because they ignored this. I know 20 and 30-year marriages that have ended because somebody ignored this. I know people who have lost their children because they ignored this. I know people who are in prison right now because they ignored this. A guy that I used to see when I was coaching at the park, I watched him begin to drift off towards the game bangers. He never game banged, but he drifted off towards the game bangers. And he began to hang with them. And he wasn't participating in the activity that they were participating in. Eventually, I heard that he was shot and he lost part of his face. Never gangbanged, but just by being in close proximity with gangbangers, he was impacted by their behavior. We've seen people who grew up in godly households, healthy environments, and they started hanging around with the wrong people, and they ended up getting caught up. One of the shows that I enjoy watching is called For My Man, and we see this story played out. It's a recurring theme in this show where you see these young women who grew up in godly households. There was one episode where a young lady she had a great career ahead of her, and she was in school and almost finished with school, and she started hanging with the wrong people, and she ended up dating the wrong guy. And they went out to rob a bank one day, and she was just driving the car. And he went in to rob the bank, and he ended up getting caught. But guess what? They both ended up going to jail. Just because she didn't go in there and pull the gun out, just because she didn't go in there and take the money, doesn't mean that she's not going to be impacted by his decision. We see it all the time. Another show that I like watching, The First 48. Guys get caught. They didn't actually do the homicide, but they start snitching. And they think if they snitch, I was just driving the car. They think if they snitch, they're going to get off. The detective's like, no, you just as guilty as they are. Even though you didn't pull the trigger, you're going to end up getting the same amount of time that they got. Just by being in close proximity. Solomon says, but the companion of a fool will suffer harm. Here's the definition of a fool. A fool is a person that lives for the moment. A fool is a person who knows the difference between right and wrong, but they choose to do wrong. And what Solomon is saying is that if you continue to spend time with people who are fools, you will eventually be impacted by their decisions. You go to a fool and you say, if you keep going down that path, it's going to end bad. They say, yeah, I know, but I'm going to take my chances. A fool knows the difference between right and wrong, but they choose to do the wrong anyway. When it comes to people that you're in close proximity with, you need to be careful. You need to exercise good judgment. People might give me a little pushback. They say, Pastor, you sound a little judgmental. Let me explain to you guys the difference between being judgmental and exercising good judgment. Being judgmental is me forming an opinion about you and what you need to start doing and stop doing. But me exercising good judgment is about me. It's about the things that I'm deciding, the decisions that I'm making for me. And so this is not being judgmental. This is exercising good judgment. And when it comes to people that you surround yourself with, you need to exercise good judgment. So you may not know this about yourself, but you're an acceptance magnet. You're drawn to people who accept you. And when we're in environments where we're accepted, we drop our guards. And sometimes this can be a good thing, and sometimes this can be a bad thing. If you're around the wrong people, this can be a bad thing. People tell me all the time, my daughter just told me this the other day. She says, "Dad, you're different. How did you turn out different?" I am different. And the reason why I'm different is because I chose different friends. The people that I chose to mentor me did not look like me when I chose them to mentor me. And that's why I don't talk like everyone else. I don't act like everyone else. And when people get mad at me about the way that I think, I don't care. Because I don't care about your opinion. You don't care about a person's opinion that you don't want to be like. Because when you buy into a person's opinion, you buy into that person's lifestyle. Now, if my mentor got on me and said, "You need to stop doing certain things. The way you're behaving right now is not right. It's not going to lead you to where you want to go. You need to stop talking like that." I'm going to pay attention. But if somebody gets mad at me about my opinion that I post on Facebook and I don't want to be like you, it doesn't bother me because I don't want to be like you. No offense. That's why we need to surround ourselves with people who embody the traits that we want in our lives. I don't care what color the person is. I don't care what sex the person is. If they fit the description of the type of person that I want to be, that's the type of person that I want to surround myself with. I want to be close to that person. I want to be in close proximity with that person. And so different is not better. I'm not saying that I'm any better than anybody else. Please don't mistake that. Different is not better. Different is just different. One of my best mentors, I love this man to death. I was trying to find a picture of him so I can show him to you, is an old white guy named Fred Whitney. Most people would look at Fred Whitney and they would say, "That's an old white guy. What do you guys have in common?" I'm not looking at an old white guy. I'm looking at a guy that knows how to handle business. He started businesses. He's an entrepreneur, a very successful entrepreneur. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a successful entrepreneur. And so I'm going to spend time with him. And so spending time with him made me different. Some people might have thought I was better. It did not matter because I am exercising good judgment. I'm taking control of the people that I'm surrounding myself with. Pastor Kennard, older guy. You got to spend time with older people. There's so much wisdom that comes with age. I'm not saying that every older person is wise. But if you find an older person who is wise, and that's the skill for living life well, a person that recognizes that all of life is connected, that's the type of person that you want to surround yourself with. And so I stayed close to Pastor Kennard because he embodied the traits that I wanted in my life. He was a godly man. He had a high regard for the Word of God. And guess what happened? It started to rub off on me. Our brain waves started to look identical. I'm me, he's him. He passed away. God bless his soul. But he rubbed off on me. And so who are you close to that's rubbing off on you? The challenge with this for many of you is that you're going to have a hard time leaving certain people behind. And here's what I want you to understand. You're not going to be able to take everyone with you where God is taking you. Some of the people that's in your life right now, they're in your life for a season. And God is taking you to another level. And you need to ask yourself, who do I need to let go of? Who am I holding on to that's holding me back? And I know it's really hard when you talk about people that you grew up with, you talk about family members, but if you're willing to let go, over time you will be in a better position to help that person than if you just remain in that relationship. And so you have to be willing to let go. Letting go does not mean that you stop loving people. Some people you have to love them from a distance. And so if God is calling you to the married life, you're going to have to let go of some of your single friends. If God is calling you to healthy living, you're going to need to let go of some of the people that you're spending time with that are not healthy. God is calling you to another level. There are some people that you are going to have to leave behind. And so as you begin to move forward, as you make this decision, as you begin to transition in your life, you have to make sure that you don't ignore the red flags. The reason why people get caught up is because they ignore the red flags. And so I want to share a few red flags with you guys that you have to make sure that you do not ignore. When you see this, your conscience should light up, and that should be an indication that you need to separate yourself from these friends, that you're running with the wrong circle. Here's the first red flag. When it hits you that the person or group that you're spending time with isn't moving in the same direction you want your life to be moving in, that is a red flag. Because relationships are always going somewhere. I remember when I was, God was calling me to another level. I was hanging out with the people that I grew up with. And we had talked about getting high and smoking some sherm. And God was tugging on my life. And I remember saying no to that because I was involved in a relationship. And I look back over it now, and God was using that relationship that I was involved with to separate me from those friends that I was hanging out with. And I remember saying no to that, and every one of my friends that ended up smoking sherm ended up going through some painful, painful life experiences that I wanted no part of. Looking back, I'm glad I did not go there. They were going in a different direction from where I wanted my life to go. And if you see that the people that you're spending time with, they're not moving in the direction that you want your life to be moving, that is a red flag, and you do not need to ignore that. You should not ignore that. Second red flag, when you catch yourself pretending to be someone other than who you really are. When you catch yourself nodding when you don't agree, that's a red flag. See, we want to fit in so bad that we'll start agreeing with things that we really don't agree with on the inside. I'm noticing that some of the people that I'm close to, I feel myself that temptation to nod when I don't agree. That's an indication that we're growing in a different direction. It doesn't mean that the direction that they're going in is the wrong direction. It just means that it's not the direction that God is leading me in. And then the third thing is when you feel pressure to compromise your core values or beliefs. That you value trust, you value honesty, you value integrity, and now you're starting to do things just to fit in. That's a red flag. And if you ignore that red flag, you're headed towards danger. And so what are you going to do with this? I'm hoping that you leverage it for your success. Because Solomon, who was considered one of the wisest men to ever live, he laid this out for us. He said, if we walk with the wise, we will by nature of close proximity become wise. But if we become a companion of fools, over time we will be impacted by the fool's decisions. So I'm hoping that you leverage it to your success, but you also have the choice to ignore it to your demise. Here's something else that Solomon said in Proverbs chapter 27, verse 12. He said, the prudent, that's another word for wise people. He said, the prudent see danger and they take refuge. They see danger ahead and they begin to make adjustments. That's what wise people do because they recognize that all of life is connected. That if I don't make adjustments, that it's not going to end well. That if I don't make adjustments, I'm not going to be happy with the outcome. He says wise people, the prudent, see danger and they take refuge. But the simple, that's the fool. The person that believes that what happens today is today. I'm just going to live my best life today. And whatever happens tomorrow just happens tomorrow. He says the prudent, the simple, keep going and they pay the penalty. That you can leverage this principle for your success and begin to surround yourself with wise people, people who embody the traits that you desire, or you can ignore this principle to your own demise and suffer harm. So what are some practical things that you can do? Here's one practical thing you can do. You can put yourself in environments that fit your future. You can be intentional about that. You're in control of that. Put yourself in environments that fit your future. Find a mentor. If you can't find a mentor person to mentor you personally, look for people who wrote books. Start reading books and use the author as your mentor. But you have to put yourself in environments that fit your future. You have to change your environment. You have to elevate your circle. So I'm such a fan of life groups, and I encourage you to join a life group because you're surrounded by people. Some people you have no control of. You work with these people, and they're going in different directions than you, and they're rubbing off on you. And so you need to be in environments. You need to be intentional about being in environments with people who are going in the same direction as you. I encourage you to get in a life group. Start a life group. Invite a few people from the church. Invite a few friends. Take advantage of Right Now Media, some of the resources that we have on Right Now Media. Use the discussion questions. We send out discussion questions every week. Use the discussion questions and invite a few people to be a part of the discussion and start a life group. Join the life group that we already have. We have life groups. We meet together on Thursdays digitally. And if you text Peace Chapel to 31996, you'll be opted into our text community and you'll receive the link. And all you have to do is click the link and log in on Zoom, and you can be a part of a community of people that are not perfect, but they're going in the direction that God is leading them in. Join a life group. Let me give you the secret sauce. Here's the secret sauce. You ready for the secret sauce? Somebody type ready. I'm ready in the comment section. I need y'all to hit I'm ready in the comment section. I'm ready. I'm ready, Pastor. Here's the secret sauce. The secret sauce is you need to keep growing. That you will attract people who look like the person you are becoming. That as you're growing, you're going to attract people that fit your future. That is the secret sauce. We attract who we are becoming, not who we used to be. And so if you keep growing, guess what? You're going to attract your mentor. There's a proverb, I don't know if it's it's definitely not in the Bible, but I believe this. It says when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And so you need to keep getting better. You need to keep growing, and God is going to start. You're going to be like a magnet attracting the right people in your life. That's the secret sauce. The other thing that you can do is join a club of people that fit the direction that you're going in. Go back to school. Take up a trade, especially for those who are empty nesters. See, we're listening to this for our kids, but this is not just for our kids. This is for some adults too. That God is calling you to another level now that your kids are grown, and now that your kids are in high school, they're less dependent on you. Some of us, we build our lives around our kids. I did that. When my kids were out of the house, I was like, what do I do now? But you have to start putting yourself in environments that fit your future. Again, you can ignore this, but I want to end with something that Jesus said that I think is very, very powerful. It's something that we can easily ignore because he said it at the end of one of his statements. He was, when Jesus was around, the Pharisees would always try to challenge Jesus on the things that he said. And people would probably try to challenge me on what I said. But Jesus said this in Luke chapter 7, verse 35, very powerful. Jesus said, wisdom is proved right by all her children. He said, wisdom is proved right by all her children. Wisdom will let you win the argument, but you won't win the war. You can disagree with wisdom, but over time, wisdom will be proven right by her children. Wisdom comes with fruit. And so I want you to live your best life. And Solomon would tell you that you need to surround yourself with champions. Moore Cerf would tell you you need to surround yourself with champions. And your pastor who loves you with all of his heart, I'm telling you, you need to surround yourself with champions. Let's pray together. Father, in the name of Jesus, thank you for your word. There's so much wisdom in your word, Lord. It's so practical. But Lord, you don't force us to obey. We can obey it and benefit from it, or we can ignore it to our demise. It is my prayer, Lord, that those who are listening to today's broadcast will not only just hear your word, but that they'll put it into practice. Give them the courage to let go of certain relationships so that they can go where you're taking them. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you and God keep you in his ever-loving care. Let's join our worship team for one last song.
Hear you say, You're my desire. You are my desire. Nothing else will do. Nothing else will do. No one else can take your place. No one else can take your place. Feel the warmth of your embrace. Help me find, oh God, help me find a way. Bring me back to you, bring me back to you. Bring me back to you. See, oh, you're all I want. Oh God, you're all I've ever needed. You're all I want. Help me know you're here. Help me know you are near. Oh, you're all I want. You're all I've ever needed. You're all I want. Help me know you're near. Help me know you are near. Oh, sing, you're all I want. And you're all I've ever needed. You're all I want. Help me know you're near. Help me know you are near. Oh, help me know God. Help me know you are near. Help me know God. Help me know you are near. Let me get weary, will do it, God. Help me know you are near. You are my peace in my storm. Say, help me know you are near. You my love all day long. Say, help me know you are
Supporting your local church should be easy and hassle-free, even when you're not at service. No cash? No checkbook? No problem. Meet Tithely, the solution that goes where you go. If you can send a text message, you can give to your church no matter where you are. Simply text GIVE to your church's text giving number and follow the easy setup instructions. You're done. You'll receive a text and email confirmation of your gift. Save the number, and from now on, just text an amount and hit send. It's that easy. Wallet free, super fast, secure. Text GIVE now to your church's giving number and get started today. Text giving with Tithely, the simplest way to give to your local church.